Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics. Welcome to Because Comics. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the effervescent Mike Christensen.
How are you, everybody? It's good to be here.
All right, well, let's kick things off. First, we'd like to talk about the podcast in general. We decided to start this podcast because comics are insane and at the same time unbelievably thought-provoking, and we just have to share some of these crazy stories and scenarios with you. That's why Mike and I, twice a month, will be bringing you the latest comics on our pull list, a few game segments, and of course, one story every other week that taps into the pure shenanigans that is comics. So without any further ado, this is Because Comics, Episode 1. Mike, let's kick things off with each episode like we always do, with the pull list.
That's right. For those who don't know, a pull list is basically a subscription list that a comic book store will have. You tell them what books you want to read. They'll hold on to them so that they don't sell out and you can come pick it up whenever you get a chance. You don't have to rush to the store and try to get there before they close on Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. Get there later in the week or on the weekend. And we are going to be choosing some selections from our list. And my first selection, Jay, you and I previously discussed this being an all-ages podcast and not having too much sort of questionable content. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw that right out the window because my first comic is a comic called Sex Criminals.
Very good.
And I know what you're thinking when you hear the title, Sex Criminals. That's not entirely unfair.
Okay.
But that's not what the comic's about. The series is about two people who discover that when they orgasm, they can stop time, and then they use that power to rob banks.
That's typically what I use my sex criminal powers for.
Well, that's what you think Sex Criminals? The first
yeah, that was my first thought. Is that not a normal thing?
Then you're all good.
Oh, perfect.
It's
on the target market.
It's written by Matt Fraction, who does a lot of Marvel work. It's drawn by Chip Zdarsky, who talks to Applebee's on Facebook a lot. You probably saw that on BuzzFeed.
He talks to Applebee's?
Yeah, he has conversations with like the Applebee's Facebook account.
With the Facebook account or like the physical stores?
The
like
Facebook account.
Okay.
But it's like, it's all fake. It's like a web series he does, but it's just hilarious.
I just imagined a man outside of an Applebee's like with, I don't know, a sketch pad like, I want to draw you.
I'm just talking to you while I draw.
Apparently.
No, it's just a really well done series. They describe it, they pitched it as something along the lines of like Knocked Up or Forgetting Sarah Marshall, like a raunchy 40-year-old virgin style sex comedy. The difference is, of course, those are improv-based comedies, and there's not a lot of improv in comics. It's just a very different tone. But it is that kind of comedy of being very raunchy, but still, again, like those movies, there's a good heart to it. There's really well-done characters. And the thing with the first issue especially is that the discovery of her abilities, of course, hit during puberty, because that's when your sexual discovery happens. And it does play as this really well-done metaphor for kind of how slanted and how gender-biased sex education is.
Right.
Because there's not a lot of places where young women can go to kind of learn about not just the mechanics of sex, but like of orgasms and love and how that kind of factors into each other. And then you add to it the compounded fact that when she orgasms, she stops time.
Right.
And there's no one who understands what she's asking. Because she like asks her doctor, and it obviously doesn't go well. She tries to ask the girls, the sluts at school.
Oh, right.
It doesn't go well. Like it really, like she really goes.
When you're fooling around and time just
literally
freezes,
runs up to them and says, "Hey, sluts, what's that thing?"
Always a good opener.
You have a lot of sex. What's that thing where all the colors go weird and everything freezes? What's that about? And they look at her like she just described freezing time with her orgasms, and if she runs away, like it all goes terribly, and it is a really well done like character piece.
By the way, I think what you just said is a perfect conversation opener for any like dinner parties. Like, guys, let's talk about when you orgasm and you stop time, right?
Also, there's a musical sequence in the third issue.
There's a musical sequence?
There's a musical number that they couldn't get the rights to.
So how did they get around that?
There's all narration from the writer over the captions.
Is it just like, is the narration like, remember that song in that one movie?
It's
well,
literally
sing that
saying,
here.
We were going to use this Prince song. We ran out of time. It wasn't even that we couldn't get permission. We didn't have enough time to get permission.
Wow.
Maybe for the trade. Sorry, this is going on a little longer. Just imagine this is this sequence. It's really fun. It's just a fun book. It like premiered at a sex shop. Like they at a sex club.
That was their premiere
Matt
site?
Fraction got his nipples pierced on stage, and the artist showed up in a Garfield costume. It's just like weird. They've done 6 printings of the first issue, and for the fourth printing, they did a family portrait style image of Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky on the cover, holding the cover of the book. God. It's just a hoot, guys. I know that the title is kind of off-putting, and yes, there's some content issues. Obviously, this is not
for everybody.
Young reader friendly, and yes, this is not something that my mom is going to appreciate. Hi, Mom. Sorry. This is what I'm talking about on my podcast. Hi. But it is a really well-done series, and with really well-done characterization, and it really is like a very fascinating way to look at these people discovering sexuality in their young adult lives. It's really well done. Jay, what's your what's in your pull list this week?
All right, so my pull list for this week is an ongoing series that I really started digging. Is called The Wake by Scott Snyder, who a lot of people might know is having a pretty solid run on Batman for the last year or so. He's been kind of the one to rekindle Batman. You heard about Batman?
Which one is he? Is he the one who flies?
He doesn't fly.
Oh,
he's
the one with who can make anything with his mind. With his ring.
No, not that. He's
oh no, Batman runs really fast. I've got you.
Yeah. Sometimes runs really fast. Anyways, we'll come back to Batman. He's kind of an up and comer. I think he's got a good thing going.
I don't know. I don't really follow any characters created before.
Scott kind of got pretty well known for his little indie project Batman, and now he's working on his other little indie project called The Wake. And not to be spoilery for this, if you want to go into The Wake, just to give you a general idea about it without actually telling you anything. Is The Wake is kind of a fantastical kind of horror-ish 10-issue series with kind of two parts, a first part and a second. So if you want to go in completely blank, do that. Now I'm going to spoiler a little bit of it for you.
If you don't know literally anything about the series, skip ahead about 4 minutes.
Because I can't talk about it without saying anything like that. So now we'll talk a little bit about, not generally spoilery, but basically The Wake is about what if merfolk, whatever you prefer, existed, and they were assholes. They were terrible. They were killing people. They were not only killing you via like biting you and eating you, but like they would hallucinate, trick you into like coming into a room and killing yourself. They're just kind of the worst.
Well, it's kind of got like an alien vibe. It sounds like. Like the more monster.
A little bit of an alien vibe. And literally, the first issue kicks off with a group of people, a team assembled, into. They get together and they all assemble in a very deep underwater facility in Antarctica. So already you've got this same alien vibe built out. You've got all these trained different people. You've got your guy who hunts game and a big game hunter. You've got your main protagonist. She's a scientist. She studies like whale songs and things like that. Very interesting character. Scott's always great at that with his writing.
Yeah.
And she's there. She sees like an old colleague and all these great character interactions with evil merpeople. So
evil merpeople.
They're into it. And, Scott does this great thing of back and forth. The thing that's really going to throw you off and definitely stick with it is when you pick up the comic, it does a little bit of a back and forth and a time jump. And just not to throw you off, from issue 1, it will literally leap to 200 years in the future. And it will show you some crazy stuff. Don't even want to talk about what's so crazy about it because it's just starting to get into that into part 2. But it's pretty fantastic, and it all kind of ties together in this really interesting way. So just imagine in some way if merpeople and Alien met The Thing, John Carpenter.
Oh, okay.
And then the second half of the series, now this is going to sound weird, is now that same kind of alien mix smashed with Waterworld, and I will not say any more, but in a good way, if somehow. Nobody's peeing into machines and drinking their own urine. All right, well, that is on my pull list, The Wake. Please check it out. It's pretty fantastic.
Alrighty.
All right, so now we're going to kick things off into our main event. Mike, take it away.
Captain America versus the Secret Empire. Today we're going to be talking about Captain America and the Falcon number 163 through 175. We're not going to be covering all of those issues, but sort of the main story that runs throughout them. As of the time of this recording, the new Captain America movie, Captain America the Winter Soldier, hasn't come out yet. So this is sort of guesstimating whether or not this is going to be relevant, but it seems like it will be, and at least the Falcon is in that movie.
Falcon's in it. Falcon's in the new movie.
We're going to pick up at about 163. And then we'll jump ahead to about 170, 171. Because there's two important things that happen in issue 163. The first is that, again, we need to provide some context. What was happening in America at the time?
Okay.
Vietnam.
Right.
Watergate.
That was a thing. Both of those
you're
things
all
were
caught
things.
up. That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know? Okay, cool.
Those, actually, I don't think Watergate had even happened by the time this issue comes out. But this is actually kind of a huge moment of him actually doubting
America.
what America stands for, because he's someone who grew up, you got to remember, he grew up in the Great Depression and obviously came of age during World War II, as we all saw. Hopefully you all saw Captain America, the First Avenger, which is a pretty faithful adaptation of his original story, except with Bucky, instead of being a teenage sidekick, being a fellow soldier.
Right. Which I thought was a nice change.
It's a fair
Instead
shift.
of running around in like a blue Robin Hood outfit.
And
like,
clearly
tights.
being a 17-year-old
I'm
boy.
a kid!
Yeah, because that was the thing.
Thanks for bringing me into war, Mr. America.
Mr. America.
Yeah.
His name is a title.
His name is
Captain
the title.
is what you
He is
replaced
Captain
with Mr.
America.
But exactly, this was a huge moment because America isn't a scrappy underdog in Vietnam the way they were in World War II. It's just a very different war. And this is him really starting to consider this is the first seed being planted. We'll come back to this in a few issues. Because something else important happens in 163. Some supervillains break out of prison. This is not surprising. Happens kind of all the time. Two or three guys bust out of
Do you
Sing
think
Sing.
prisons have, like, if supervillains break out protocols? Like, they have to have it. Like, we have fire drills. They're just like, now this is going to happen. We want everyone to know their exits.
Everyone
to
at
get their
Sing
stun
Sing
guns.
knows, like, okay, if they get out of this cell, you can still use these weapons.
Yeah.
If they've made it over to their equipment, which, by the way, why would you keep their equipment in the same... I guess it's their personal effects. Then, once they've made it there, you have to get the fire extinguisher because stuff's gonna burn.
Yeah, they never, like, destroy their weapons or their suits. They're just like, we'll just keep these here close by to the guys that need them.
I mean, it's their personal property.
Their personal property.
We'll give it back to them at the end.
I mean, even if you need it for evidence, keep it in, like, the other side of the city, in, like, a vault somewhere, labeled, like,
there should be a special section.
Indiana Jones warehouse style with, like, mislabeled numbers on all of them. Not, like, 10 feet from the guy who needs
So
them.
Living Laser just goes down the hall and grabs all his weapons.
It's just right here. Perfect.
He's a bad example because
Right.
he's a living laser.
Even so, I mean, even just locked doors would prevent that next step. They're like, it's behind just a locked door. They're always just, like, sitting out in, like, a nice display case. Like, how much money do these prisons spend on their nice armory display cases of weapons and things?
Well, these guys are sprung from prison. They're villains named the Eel and the Viper, and they're sprung by a villain named the Human Cobra.
Okay.
You can kind of see where this is going. They decide to call themselves the Serpent Squad
That's awesome.
and team up to fight Captain America. For the first few pages, they don't know where he is or what he's doing. He's got a whole thing with his ex-girlfriend from the war who's back from her amnesia, and he's actually dating her little sister, which is later they change that to her niece to make it less weird. That is just comics, man. Just comics.
Crazy.
Just
Shenanigans.
comics. But they don't know where he is, so one of them calls his old buddy from his Madison Avenue days, because apparently the Viper used to work on Madison Avenue. He was an ad man.
Wow.
Just...
So this comic like went into some deep in-depth background of the Serpent Squad.
Well, that was not uncommon, because you couldn't really have Wikipedia back in the day. You had to find a really effective shorthand of saying, this guy's a Madison Avenue guy. So he just says, I'll call my buddy from my Madison Avenue days. It sounds clunky and awkward now, but at the time, it's very economic storytelling. Okay. But he calls his buddy and says, let's start a smear campaign about Captain America. Just start disparaging him, calling him a vigilante and a renegade. And he says, they sold the president through the media. We'll be using the same techniques in reverse to convince the great unwashed that CA is a glory-grabbing vigilante, despoiling the name of America. And then, of course, they actually find out where he is, and they fight him, and it goes terribly, and they end up going to prison.
Of course.
We're going to jump over a few issues, which is unfortunate because in the next issue, Falcon gets turned into a werewolf.
Okay.
But it's actually not important to where I'm going with this. And then there's 2 issues where they fight a Fu Manchu-style villain named the Yellow Claw, which is only slightly less racist than it sounds.
Only slightly less.
And something actually kind of important there happens, which is that because the Yellow Claw uses his telepathic trickery, he makes Captain America beat Nick Fury nearly to death. Okay. The head of S.H.I.E.L.D., he beats the tar out of him, almost kills him. And it's really obviously put Captain America on the outs with S.H.I.E.L.D.
By the way, I love that phrasing, beat the tar out of him.
Hey, Don't think that I'm not using that.
It's right in line.
All the time. It's very much of that style. But it puts him on the outs with S.H.I.E.L.D. because he just beat the director nearly to death. And
Yeah, that's typically a way you might get in a bit of a...
And Nick's in a bad way. He's in a hospital bed for like 5 issues. He is...
Oh, wow.
He's not doing well. Don't get beat up by super soldiers.
Do we think the Yellow Claw is going to make an appearance in Winter Soldier and have Captain America beat down on Samuel L. Jackson?
I can't rule it out.
I mean,
I can't rule it out.
One can only, in a terrifying way, have their fingers crossed for something that horrible to happen.
But over the next few issues, in like issue 166 and 67, we start seeing ads being printed. We start seeing little captions and radio ads are coming out talking about how bad Captain America is. One person even says they even have a jingle, which again,
a jingle for how bad Captain
very
America
much
is?
dates this. But I really wish that someone had released a record of the Captain America
Of the
as a
Captain America
vigilante
jingle?
That
That would have been a great promotional run with these comics.
Oh, fantastic!
Just like, oh man, that'd be crazy. I mean,
To tune into the radio and actually hear that jingle and be like, what is happening? If you want to know what's happening, read Captain America and the Falcon, number 166, Night of the Lurking Dead.
Guaranteed some people would pick up some comics. If
They also
heard
fight
that
mummies.
randomly on the radio. They what?
They also fight mummies in 166.
What is going on in these issues? I feel like we're
We are skipping over
skipping over some serious
wacky
content.
things, but we only have so much time.
Right.
When we get to 169, this is where things really start jumping off, because Captain America he's walking down the street or driving down the street, and he sees a bunch of TVs in a store window, and there's a commercial playing about how terrible Captain America is.
Right.
And this is actually where he puts a name to the taglines, because they're paid for by the Committee to Regain America's Principles.
It's a very very professional name for a business.
I mean, it definitely sounds like something you would see.
I half thought you were going to say, by the Serpent Squad.
I know.
And he was going to be like,
Well, that's the thing, is there's no discussion of money when he calls his buddy. He's
Not
not
at
like,
all.
oh, by the way, we're going to knock over a bank on Tuesday. The check's in the mail.
Yeah,
Like, it's
don't
just
worry
like,
about it.
hey, buddy, we go way back. I know I dress like a viper now, but you're going to help me with this, right? Cool. Click.
Remember we used to be buddies back in the day?
Back in the day.
You're right. Our old friendship years
before
ago
I went to Sing Sing.
validates any amount of money or crimes that I will do for you.
But anyway, he sees this ad paid for by the Committee to Regain America's Principles, and they're showing like pictures of him out of context, like he's pushing his way through police, and oh, look how terrible he is.
He's tripping over old ladies.
Exactly.
He puts down his coat for someone to step over, and he slips it out right at the last second, and they step into a puddle.
But it really gets to him, of course.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's, shouting at the screen, because again, this 1970s, people talk out loud more so than they would in modern comics. But he talks out loud at the screen and he's saying, like, no, that was out of context.
Is Captain America still confused about how technology works? Like,
He
these
draws
are
a
not
crowd.
tiny people in a box.
He draws a crowd at this point.
Wow.
People actually stand around, and he turns and he goes, oh, right. And
This is not accepted by common society.
But he talks them down. He tries to say, like, look, you know me. You know who I am. You know I have America's best interests at heart. This is just a smear campaign. You shouldn't believe this. And some crowd guy says, sure, Cap, sure. Anything you say. And someone whispers, he looks mad, Harry, and he's as strong as an ox. And you really get the sense, like, people are
a bit ruffled.
ruffled, for sure. And they're talking about it later on when
They're
the
breaking
giant...
Cap's cool.
People are, like, talking like, oh, I saw what I read on the news when giant tarantulas attack in the next panel, but that was a few issues ago.
So all of this is, like, broken up by, like, the biggest shenanigans ever. It's just like, he, like, yells at a television. Of course, he's just, like, ripped the head off of a zombie king. And then, of course, after the people get a little flustered, the Spider King comes in, and a lot of supernatural kings.
Well, that's the interesting thing about these old stories, is there wasn't 2 or 3 part stories the way we see nowadays. When things are neatly broken up the way they can be divided into books and collections for Barnes & Noble shelves. It was just continuous storytelling. And things would come in and out, and that's why this radio ads were allowed to sort of percolate in the background for like 5 issues. And then they could really come back to it in full force in 169. But it's going on in the background. Meanwhile, he's fighting the Yellow Claw for 2 or 3 issues, but that segues directly into this, and it's much more fluid storytelling and something you used to see a lot more of.
This
back
is
in the
like
day.
Captain America's own Nightfall.
It kind of is.
It's like his own principles being broken down and destroyed as he's being beaten on all sides from multiple weird villains and things that he's encountered.
It's exactly that, because he gets evicted at the same time as all this is happening.
Why does he get evicted?
Because, and apparently this was happening earlier on in the story. This was a few weeks earlier in his time.
He
a few
just decided not to
months
pay
earlier.
any more bills?
No, the guy decided to pay him, to charge him too much rent. He's blackmailing him with rent. His landlord. And Cap, again, grew up believing you stand up to bullies. You don't bow.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't pay that rent. Well, he goes on a vacation with his girlfriend / girlfriends / don't worry about it. That's a whole other conversation. He comes home to find that he's been evicted and all of his stuff has been sold out from under him.
Wow.
He has only the clothes that he came back to town in.
Which I guess is the foundation as to why we only see Captain America in his Captain America outfit.
No, he's got like civvies. He's got civvies.
He's got.
But it is a moment again where it's something you couldn't have gotten away with 10 years earlier, 20 years earlier. You couldn't have gotten away with maybe during the Great Depression, but not during World War II, at least in his mind. That is another turning point. That's another point where you see like people are allowed to get away with things that they wouldn't have been allowed to get away with. That's another reflection of the Watergate of it all. These things are happening. That dude, that landlord, nothing bad happens to him.
He just kind of
goes about his day and rents that.
The true supervillain of the Captain America series.
It's that landlord. And he says, I feel like I'm being paranoid, but I really feel like I'm being hit by all sides here.
I mean, I think that sounds awesome.
I
love taking heroes and just putting them through the ringer. And it's true, Captain America, out of most heroes, is really oftentimes the rock of the team.
He's
the one that no matter what is like, guys, we're good, we're doing the right thing, even during the huge event of Civil War. Mm-hmm. Civil War was a big controversial one in the Marvel Universe, and Captain America the whole time, just we're doing the right thing. This is the right thing.
It's the stance he takes in every debate that the Avengers have in the beginning of any event, House of M or Avengers Disassembled. He's always saying, we're doing the right thing, we got to keep it up.
Captain America does not dance between lines.
He doesn't do that.
He stands on one side and he sticks to it.
But America's interests shift. And this is a story about that. And we'll get into that in just a second, because he sees this TV ad, and he's got a name for it now, the Committee to Regain America's Principles, and he goes and he finds them. He finds the ad guys who are putting it on the air, and sure enough, the guy who's paying for it is the host of that commercial. His name is Quentin Harderman. Captain America storms in and says, I demand to know why you're trying to take me apart. And Quentin says, I don't care about you. You are not my main goal. You are not the end goal. I have a different opinion of where you fall in the utopian America. Which is to say, he's not a part of it. But it's like he says, I could be persuaded to change my mind. If you're willing to lend your boxing skills to this charity event, maybe I could change my mind. And Cap says, I do that all the time. Fine. I've done 200 of those. If it'll get you off my back, then fine. And he goes to this charity event. By the way, the main plot of this story is when he's fighting a villain named the Tumbler.
Oh, really?
It was, I guess,
What is his special move?
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
So he fights the Tumbler.
What could it be?
What is his deal? It's reblogging gift sets of Community episodes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And by the way, can we just for a moment think of like how, if Tumblr aside, if you were just entering into a standard charity boxing match and your opponent had to be Captain America,
I know.
You're like, I'm doing this for kids, or whatever, charity this is for. I just can't wait to. Is that Captain America?
Yeah, it's a same day change to the schedule.
Yeah, pretty
we actually don't see
change.
The boxing. I don't know if he's boxing a dude or like just showing off his skills, and they used boxing skills to just describe
what is boxing for a charity?
General awesomeness.
I will brutally. I like how Captain America also said, "Yeah, I beat up like 200. I beat up guys all the time for charity. It's just how Captain America rolls."
But he goes to this event, and sure enough, he recognizes out of costume the Tumbler is there.
Okay,
and he tries to tackle the guy and bring him down.
Is the Tumbler a villain at this point? Like, is he out on... But here's the thing. Is he out on, like, bail?
No. The villain, he's there on invite from Quentin Harderman.
Oh, okay.
But Captain America doesn't know that.
To throw shenanigans into this?
And Captain America tackles him, and the guy dies. He just drops dead.
He kills him?
No, Captain America doesn't kill him. He doesn't hit him that hard. Someone shoots him with, like, some, like, invisible thing from like the vents in the ceiling. We're gonna meet that person in the next issue. But he's like wrestling with this dude, and he just drops dead, and everyone around him, including children,
are
standing around going, Captain America just straight up murdered someone. All these television ads and radio spots and newspaper stories are completely right. This dude is a problem. That's where that issue ends, by the way.
Pretty phenomenal closeout for that comic.
Accused of murder.
Do we know that he got killed by an invisible bullet?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we see someone in the rafters.
Okay.
We see their face.
So I thought for a moment that comic might literally close with, you think Captain America just wrestle murdered someone to death.
Well, that's why I bring up the Nick Fury, because that is how that comic ended. Oh. He thought that he killed Nick Fury.
And how long ago was that issue?
Like 4 issues. It
so
just happened.
I mean...
It's definitely...
For a bunch of issues that had zombie werewolves and a Fu Manchu type villain... they've set up some serious foundation with this breakdown with this Captain America Nightfall.
They definitely set up where they were going.
Right.
They teased that possibility that you could kill a dude without meaning to. You know, obviously he didn't intend to beat Nick Fury even as badly as he did.
He tumbled his last tumble.
Exactly. The issue 170 picks up. By the way, issue 170 is called J'accuse.
Nice.
And it picks up with him being besieged by cops, and he wants to submit. He wants to surrender, but he's not sure if they're in on it because he knows this is a setup. He looks at Quentin Harderman and says, clearly this was you. Like, I'm not fooled by this at all. I know this was you. You've killed a man. But the cops storm in and he's like, I don't know if these guys are on payroll. I can't take the chance that I'm going to get, like, killed in prison or something. I don't know. I can't take the chance that this is all part of the frame-up.
I wish I could tell you that Captain America made it out of there.
But he runs. He just rabbits and he cheeses it and just bails. And he's out on the street and he bumps into a hero named Moonstone, who is not the hero from Thunderbolts. It's a man.
I was going to say, I was like, I know Moonstone.
It's not the same.
Not a man, though.
It's not the same character, no.
Okay.
And this guy basically announces that he's Captain America's replacement. And he cleans his clock. He takes Captain America.
He takes Captain America down?
Pretty much. Very quickly and easily.
It's not a normal thing you can do.
No, it's very challenging. And Harderman runs out and sees him and announces that Moonstone is the new defender of our heritage. And then Captain America wakes up in prison where Harderman and Moonstone are doing a press conference.
So this plan has gone off like a hitch.
It's going like gangbusters.
Perfect.
And then Captain America is broken out of prison. These guys bust in. This issue ends with these guys busting in and saying, we are your supporters. And we're here to rescue you. And Captain America can't stand that he's now torn the country apart. There's factions. And it's like dividing the country. And if he runs, he's basically saying, I'm guilty. But if he stays, he's part of this frame-up and he doesn't know how that's going to go. But then these guys are getting hostile with the guards and he can't stand that, obviously. They're going to kill these prison guards who are just doing their jobs. So he takes them down, but then everyone gets knocked out by these guys who've come in. They call themselves the sanitation crew for some reason.
The sanitation crew?
I don't know why. Because they don't... Oh, no, they say like they're cleaning up America or something like that. It doesn't matter. It's not important.
Not important.
It doesn't play a role at all. I just think it's interesting. But he gets gassed by them, and he wakes up somewhere else and finds out that they are in on it as well. They're not actually supporters. They're part of this conspiracy.
So this is still going on.
This is still happening.
So their plan was to break down Captain America, get him to come to the advertising guy, Quincy, set him up for this charity event where he will kill the Tumbler. They will kill the Tumbler with an invisible bullet.
Or something, it's an invisible laser or something
invisible
like that.
Laser. That goes off. Moonstone will take him out, will take his place as the new figurehead for America and superheroes. Captain America will then go to jail. He will then bust out of jail with these people who then are now also villains.
Yeah.
That is quite a plan.
It's getting better. So when Captain America discovers the sanitation crew is in on it, he makes a break for it, and he gets free.
Okay.
And he finds the Falcon, and they team up. They have another brawl with Moonstone and with the sanitation crew. And then they track down where Moonstone is from and go investigate, and they find the X-Men. And the X-Men say, yep, everything that's happening to you is happening to mutants. Not just in a general sense, oh, mutants are persecuted. I mean, whoever is attacking you
is also attacking
targeting our enemies, our allies, our members. The only people left of the 5-person team, which is Iceman, Beast, Angel, Jean Grey, and Cyclops, are Jean Grey and Cyclops. The other 3 have been abducted, along with a bunch of others. And they tell Captain America that the villain is someone called the Secret Empire. Whoever it is, they're kidnapping mutants. Very mysterious. But they manage to track down a lead into the Secret Empire. They infiltrate the Secret Empire. The Secret Empire, by the way, they all wear these black hoods over their faces. Kind of Ku Klux Klan-esque, but not as pointy. They all have numbers on their foreheads.
Weird.
So you know who you're looking at and where they rank. Number 1.
So they meet in secret wearing these outfits?
Yeah. So you don't know who you're talking to.
And they also don't know who they're talking to. So
No
they go
one
by
else-
like numbers.
Exactly.
Like number 8.
Exactly.
What
Number
did you
68,
find on
number 15.
This person.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they go in and infiltrate and kind of earn their membership, apparently. But as soon as they're taken to their quarters, the doors lock and like lasers activate and they have to get out of there fast. And they manage to escape because they're Captain America and the Falcon and their names
course.
are on the title of the book. Manage to find the mutants who are being used in this nefarious machine, and they fail.
What?
They kind of fail because that thing takes off. The Secret Empire has everything they need, and they launch their ship, which is a flying saucer filled with mutants that are like tied into this machine.
Is it going somewhere?
It's going to the front lawn of the White House.
Wow.
It lands on the front lawn of the White House. Meanwhile, Moonstone is doing press appearances and congressional hearings and things.
He's got a new Nike shoe coming out.
So he's in Washington, and this thing touches down, and this is the game plan. This is the final plan.
that the mutants are going to attack.
Moonstone's going to attack the ship
Oh.
and lose.
And lose.
And he gets taken into the ship and comes back out and says, "Guys, it's hopeless. I'm sorry. I did my best, but there's nothing we can do. And I've heard their plan, and there's nothing we can do to stop them. The Secret Empire cannot be stopped." And of course we believe him, because we've seen him on television, and we've
He's
seen
our
him
hero.
doing congressional hearings. He's the new Captain America.
He came out with those new shoes I love.
You've added the shoes, but I totally believe that now that is a part of the continuity.
It just wasn't in the issue. It was
I
definitely
really
there.
want to see some kid like Peter Parker's student or something running around wearing moonstones.
It's like the high tops from Sandlot when it was like, these shoes can make you run faster and jump higher.
But he quote unquote loses the fight, and then number 1 comes out. Of course, number 1 is the head of the Secret Empire, and announces that there's atomic bombs all over the country, and they're being planted. And there are, I'm sure. But Captain America and the Falcon and the X-Men show up, they figure out where those bombs are, they get the word to S.H.I.E.L.D., and Captain America takes down Moonstone, and all is well. He takes out number 1 with one blow. Number 1 is a regular dude, and he has this epic brawl with Moonstone, and he succeeds, and he triumphs, and it's this real moment of triumph for America, and they get footage of Moonstone throwing Quentin under the bus, like, oh no, yeah, that guy totally was in on it, and then it's all under. We believe that, we see on TV, Moonstone was part of the ruse, Harderman was part of the ruse, the Secret Empire was all a part of this conspiracy to overthrow Cap, and it all is well. And then number 1 runs away. He makes a break for it. Captain America chases him down, and they're in the halls of the White House, and he pulls off number 1's hood and goes, "Good Lord, you're," and number 1, whose face we don't see, says, "Exactly, but high political office didn't satisfy me. My power was still too constrained by legalities. I gambled on a coup to gain the power I craved, and it appears that my gamble has finally failed. I'll cash my chips then," and he shoots himself in the head.
Who is the person in the mask?
Richard Nixon resigned 1 month later. This was right after
Wow.
Watergate. It's the president, dude.
The president was
They don't
number
show
1?
his face. They don't say it, but it's in the halls of the White House. The president was on a retreat. They throw that line in there very deliberately later
Wow.
on. The president is in charge of the Secret Empire. And then here's the kicker, because the captions at the end is he's like, Captain America's walking out in that defeated Charlie Brown pose. "A man can change in a flicker of time. This man trusted the country of his birth. He saw its flaws, but trusted in the basic framework, its stated goals, its long-term virtue. This man now is crushed inside, like millions of other Americans, each in his own way." Hint, 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 Watergate.
Wow.
He has seen his trust mocked, and this man is Captain America. He quits. He stops being Captain America. He changes his name, and like 4 issues later, he starts going by the name Nomad, the man without a country.
I think that came back later on, like within like a few years ago. They did a similar line. Like he kind of left being Captain America for a while.
It's something they've revisited a few times, but this is the first time where they really destroyed him.
As unbelievably zany that story is. That's crazy. They went as unbelievably far as they could have gone with that.
Literally as far as they were probably allowed to go. They got letters.
The president shot himself off camera.
And they got letters, and they would defend themselves by saying, look,
off panel. Sorry.
This story, barely off panel.
Barely off panel.
They said, like, oh, this story started back in 163, so obviously this wasn't a reaction to Watergate, which is bull.
Yeah.
Obviously reaction to Watergate.
I'm not alive.
Very clearly reaction to Watergate. And it was a huge event. And
clearly.
Just, man, they went for it.
I mean, every time the Serpent Squad shows up, you know it's going to be a game changer.
Well, the Secret Empire really does have that legacy now.
Wow.
Of really having been responsible for a huge crushing blow to Captain America.
I gotta say, pretty damn good event.
Yeah, now we just refer to it as that time that Nixon turned out to be a supervillain and shot himself in front of Captain America.
A classic Captain America tale.
Back
well,
in
Mike,
the day.
that was an awesome story, awesome event for our first episode here, and now I think
probably Captain America, the Winter Soldier, in theaters now. I don't know when this episode
probably
goes
exactly
up.
that story. It will end with Richard Nixon shooting himself in the head.
Still Nixon.
Cut to black. No, sorry, that's gonna be the tail end scene.
Post-credit scene.
Post-credit scene of the number one pulling the mask off. It's Nixon. It's no dialogue, no context. Just a man in a room pulling a mask off and shooting himself, and it's Nixon.
Oh man,
sad.
We can only hope.
We can only hope. All right, well, that was Mike and our main event today with Captain America, and now we move on to our first fun kind of game segment, Super-Mundane. All right, this is Super-Mundane. This is one of our game segments where what I'll do is I'll throw out to Mike a mundane activity or just kind of a standard everyday life event, whether, in normal day job or kind of home scenario. And Mike is going to have to decide which superhero, whether in Marvel or DC, he feels would be able to best tackle this task or activity. So for our Super Mundane for today, I'm asking you, who would be the best at directing a school play or putting on a school play production of any type?
Oh, man. That's a fine question. First off, I think we should say right off the bat, a lot of these at the answer is going to be Batman.
Right. I will like to say for any of these segments that Batman is always the cheat code.
Yep.
So we're going to try to steer clear as much as possible from the Batman
And I
answer.
think here he's got an advantage because he works with children a lot.
He does.
But he also doesn't seem like the kind of guy who'd be great at the school play. Like, he wouldn't be all about, oh, you get just participate and have fun. That dude would be running just military drills with these kids. It would be strict. He is not who you want.
And not sure if he'd get the content as well. Maybe if he did, Death of a Salesman or something, that might work. That might work a little bit more to his advantage. But let's keep this. Who would be the best at doing a school musical?
Oh, like a You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, like a You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Music Man, any of that stuff.
I'm gonna rule out Spider-Man.
Okay.
Because everything goes wrong with Spider-Man.
That's true. The sets would fall.
Yeah.
Injured kids.
There would be something. Mysterio would be behind all of it. He'd be
That's true.
super angry that he wasn't invited to build the sets. It would just be a nightmare.
Oh, man.
You do not want Spider-Man directing your school play. I'm kind of inclined to go with Volstagg from the Warriors 3 and Thor. For those of you who've only seen the movies, he's the big heavy guy with the big red beard. That dude seems like he'd be into school plays. He's got like 5 kids in the comics. Like,
he's got like a lot of clout too. He'd
he
be
does.
Like, Volstagg says.
There's no way that dude gets through a rehearsal without getting drunk, though. There's just no way. Like the first table read, he's asleep by the end of the
parents
first
are going to
act.
have some complaints, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a challenge. That would not be the best result.
Who do we feel from, let's say, just like a musical standpoint? Who do you think is going to have, just the best kind of handle on Daredevil?
Well, he's got the
perfect pitch.
perfect hearing. He's got the
hearing.
perfect pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Superman, that doesn't really seem like a songsmith to me. I'm sure he does fine. I'm sure he has like super pitch or something, like literally super pitch.
Of course.
I have no doubt that is one of his powers, that he sings perfectly.
He happens to find out that he has perfect pitch.
But like, Matt Murdock is blind, so he's got the sort of heightened hearing. He's got the super hearing, and he was a Catholic kid. He grew up in church. He's sung all his life. He's got a good sense of song.
That's true. He'd be a great musical director, not a great director in general, because he's not going to know what the colors of the sets are.
That's true.
It might all just be
It's true.
just red.
He would have to be
You'd have
the
to
guy
rely
you
on
bring into
somebody.
the music.
Kids, how are we looking with the colors? Oh, they look great, Mr. Daredevil.
Mr. Daredevil.
Well, we
Mr.
have to assume
Murdoch.
that these guys are in there. They're in costume.
Wolverine.
Wolverine would be a great director.
I would love to see Wolverine directing a school play.
I'd love to see Wolverine just trying to direct people in musical numbers.
The X-Men are an interesting play to go with kids. Because anytime, again, you have an X-Men teaching kids, something blows up.
That's
It's
true.
usually the school. Sometimes it is literally a school bus full of children. That is
God.
not without precedent. That happened.
Comics.
Oh, comics.
Oh, boy.
Guys, we're going to say that a lot on this show.
Yeah.
I feel like we haven't hit a definitive answer on this. It's really good question.
one that really sticks out. You know who I think would probably do a pretty good job, who I think a lot of people forget about, is Martian Manhunter.
Oh, sure.
Martian
Okay.
Manhunter, is going to be able to... One, he's a shapeshifter.
Yep.
So if there's any kind of, puppetry required in the show...
Okay.
Or
I was wondering where you were going with that one.
or monsters of some sort, he can be that character.
I was just thinking because he's such a stoic figure.
He is a very stoic figure, too. He's going to demand respect from the kids.
He's very patient.
He's also going to, with his telepathy and his mind reading, he might be able to kind of sort of... Because kids, in school plays, there's all these different things going on. They might feel unsure about themselves, distracted. He's going to hear that, and I think he'll really, zone in on, I feel like you're struggling. You wouldn't say outright, I can read your mind, Jimmy. I know what you're thinking. By the way, what you thought about earlier is not okay, and you need to, seek out some help.
True.
But, he's going to be able to address the kids from a stoic place, and, as a shapeshifter, not only doing those weird puppetry things, but also, maybe he could, take on to be funny, take on the figure of a goofy character.
I also feel like, though, if the Martian Manhunter directs a school play, a lot of it's going to be about his search for humanity. It's going to be all about him.
That could be possible.
But that's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing. Who
the
knows?
kids learn something.
Think of it this way.
Something.
He might be drawn to musicals because they're such big... they're such big emotional personifications of things. People are openly stating their feelings, and not in just sentences, but in huge belting numbers.
Which is something he can appreciate because he is a mind reader, and that's sort of what I would equate mind reading to being, kind of walking through a musical where people
really
are...
mad.
Everyone's the star of their own song.
That's true.
Everyone's the star... They're singing their songs about how they hate traffic or whatever. It's the equivalent of going through a musical, and these big emotional moments provoke big emotional surges. And this would be somewhere he could actually really appreciate that. They're actually saying what they're thinking.
Exactly.
I'm so frustrated by the fact that people don't do that.
And I think I love the idea of just John's getting back to the Watchtower and just being like, we never really know what you do all the time. He's like, yeah, I'm just directing a school musical right
Directing
now.
Andy, get your gun.
Yeah, guys, I got you all tickets. Please come in.
Come on, we're doing the Music Man. Sunday matinee, we really need some help.
Really need some people to fill those seats.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
All right, guys. Canonical answer, final answer on who would be the best at directing a school musical. We're going with Jon Jones, The Martian Manhunter, DC Comics.
For the win.
Yeah.
Well, that was episode 1 of Because Comics. We'll be posting a new episode every other week. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. Of course, you can email us any questions at becausecomics@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at because_comics. And be sure to check out more content from our comic boy wonder, Mike Christensen, at supergeekmike.com. Thanks for listening, and remember,
The Force will be with you. Always.
thank you, sir. Your guidance is most appreciated.
You turn off your targeting computer.
Comics. Because comics.